Hello, how's it going? Welcome back. And first of all, I apologise if you hear a racket going on in the background. The workmen have not yet finished digging up the pavements outside, so I do apologise if you hear engines and reverse beeping and bucket loads of rocks getting dumped and etc. Nothing I can do about it. I've tried to wait as long as possible, but it meant I've had no videos out. So today I'm going to try and we'll see what we end up with. I thought I'd update everybody with how my racing is going. You may know that I returned to RC racing for the first time in 17 years, just a few months ago. Previously I raced in the touring car class, 1/10 scale, now the GT12 class, which didn't exist back then, back for me. This has sort of evolved from the Mardiv class that used to exist, and I can hear a racket going on outside again. If you'd seen my previous videos about this little car, you may have noticed that it looks a little bit different now than it did previously. And I'm not referring to the damage to the shell, thank you very much, although to be fair there is now a split on the front. Irritatingly, this held up really well until the very last race. And so the most recent race I ever took part in, I managed to crack the front of it. The last time I went was actually, usually we race on a Friday night. This was actually a Saturday event, a once a year, it's called the Grand Prix, and it's an all-day thing. It starts at about 11 in the morning, goes on until about 7 in the evening, and you get loads of races in. It's great, practice sessions and stuff. So in the last race, the final for that day, is when I split the shell. Never mind, I've really enjoyed running this Camtech Castrol liveried Porsche 911 GT3. It looks great. Nobody else races a 911 GT3 at all in the club. Turns out there's a reason for that. Well, I knew there was anyway, but I just hoped it didn't make too much difference. It looks, I love it. I love the paint job that Shark Fat RC Customs did. It's his signature in there. And I love the Castrol livery this is based on. I think the Castrol race livery is one of the nicest in history. Although there are various types of Castrol livery, they're not always like this. I think personally my favourite ever is the one from the Toyota Corolla WRC car, which has splashes of blue because of the Movistar or whatever it was sponsorship. Anyway, as I said, it looks different, not just because of the damage. It previously had Sky RC across here, a big sticker saying Sky RC. Now, that is because I used to run with this motor. This is a Sky RC Aries Pro version 2, 13.5 turn brushless motor. And that's what I had in the car previously. And it's a lovely little thing. I mean, it looks really, really nice. I like the machining on it. Just a little bit gutless though. I managed to play around with gearing, etc., and I actually got the timing in the sweet spot. I'm currently running about 46 degrees of timing. A little Rossi reference there. And it was pretty happy. It was running pretty well and it had good temperatures. And if you got the gearing spot on, actually it pulled pretty well. It was, you know, if it was absolutely right in the zone and happy as Larry, it actually performed quite well. Obviously the fastest guys would still leave you on the straight, but it wasn't too bad. Problem was, the track changes quite regularly. Sometimes they use the same track for a couple of weeks or whatever, but when the track changes, obviously you could gear the car differently depending on the track. And yeah, if you geared it really low because you had a track with a really twisty infield, it would pull quite well. But then if you had a long straight in that twisted track, it would just get murdered because you could either have a little bit of hard acceleration or you could have top speed. You couldn't really get both. Right in the sweet spot, you just about could, but it was just a little bit weak. It was fine. It was good. And it won me a few races, but nothing wonderful. It was certainly getting left behind by the top guys. So I decided to return to my roots. I want a faster motor. Everybody in the club uses at least used, I say everyone, all the top guys used a Hobbywing G3R, and some of them have now moved to the newer Hobbywing G4. I wanted something different because I don't like copying what everybody else does, even though there is sometimes a right way. Like getting an Atom 2, for example, is the right way of doing it because everybody uses an Atom 2. So if you need help, you can get help from the top guys, etc. But in terms of body shell, motors and stuff, there's a little bit, wiggle room to play. I decided to go back to Trinity, who are my favourite motor manufacturers in RC, and I always used Trinity motors when I was competing, a long time ago, back when it was brushed motors. So I got this Trinity RevTech X Factor 13.5 ton. Everybody said, don't get that, doesn't have enough torque, very revvy, fast. Everybody did say it was fast, but it it screams. And yes, they were right. First time I used this, didn't have the fan mount on it. It came off the track at 90 degrees Celsius, and it was quick, but it wasn't blistering. It comes over timed out the box generally. I've timed this down a little bit. What is this sitting at now? About 39, just below 40. So it looks like 39 and a half maybe. Anything above that, it tends to be more temperature with no real more performance. So it's in a pretty good place now. But this fan mount is a 3D printed fan mount by somebody in the club, prints them off. So that's a nice fan mount design. Keeps it cool, comes off the track pretty good. Still hotter than this, even though this didn't run a fan, but that's because these are very revvy motors. I have to run a much smaller pinion than everybody else with this motor. So when the top guys will be running maybe a 29 or a 30 tooth pinion with the same spur, I'll be using 24, 25 tooth because it revs high and it doesn't pull that hard unless you let it rev. So yeah, a little bit different than the top guys, but actually down the straight, there's no getting away from it. It's rapid. It is so quick. I'm not necessarily saying it's the fastest down the straight. I'm not sure. It's very difficult to tell, but certainly no one's getting away from it. At least people that are. Bloody hell. Anyway, so hence why I have the Trinity sticker there. I could have put RevTech and X Factor because it is a RevTech X Factor motor, but the RevTech X Factor motors are stickers. The motor stickers are hideous, baby blue coloured, and I hate the name X Factor. It reminds me of that stupid TV show. So Trinity, I love the old school looking Trinity stickers. That looks fantastic. And as a result, my results have improved dramatically. I have now regularly started. I'm now a regular B finalist, and I've actually won, I believe, 4 B finals. I won a couple of C's before I moved up. A few races. I win a couple of races every now and again, but I'm in a higher category now, so the competition's stiffer. But I've won 4 B finals since, and I've been into the A final once, but I don't count it. Technically, I've been in the A, but I don't count it because that was an LMP, so Le Mans prototype, LMP 12 race evening. So all but one of the top guys were running their LMP cars, not the GT12 cars. So although I was in the GT12 A final, only one of the top guys was also in GT12. He won the A final a couple laps ahead of me. And so me and the other guys who were regular B finalists got promoted to the A purely because everybody else, all the top guys were running the LMPs. Don't count it. I'll eventually get into the A final on merit, but that hasn't happened yet. Other changes I've made to the car, apart from the motor and the fan, are this is the camber strap. The camber strap you bolt along the top dictates the camber of the front end as well as the caster. All the top guys use the camber strap number 3. There are 3 options plus the stock option 1, 2, and 3. Simple as that. Nobody uses 2. If you don't have the 3, you use the 1. Because the 3 and the 1 both have, I believe, 1.5 degrees of camber. Number 2 is only 1 degree of camber. And then the only difference between the 1 and 3 is 3 has more caster angle. So everybody uses the 3. I had to wait until them come back in stock because everybody uses the 3. Eventually got one, and now I'm running that. And it changed direction just a bit better. I have also replaced the steering bump stops with alloy ones because the plastic ones, it's to stop, in case you don't know, it's to stop the servo turning so far that it hits the arm or it stops it going too far. So you can adjust it on your transmitter so that the servo just touches the bump stops and no more. Saves your servo from being burnt out as well. Plastic ones break off all the time. Got the alloy ones. So far we're good. I've also got a carbon rear axle just to reduce a little bit of that rolling resistance, a little bit. Not rolling resistance, rolling mass, rotational mass. Just reducing that a little bit. And I also have this little spongy bit that I've just added because I've actually got myself a new body shell. Previously using this, as you know, looks great and it's a real car. I like a real car. A 911 GT3 is a real car as opposed to all of the race type body shells that most of the top guys are using loosely based on real cars, loosely based on a McLaren, loosely based on a Ferrari, whatever, but they're not real cars, they're not licensed, and they look slightly nothing like a real one. Like all the angles are slightly different, almost like someone's made a kit car. When you see someone who's got an old Volkswagen Scirocco and they made it look like a Lamborghini Countach, but it clearly isn't. Kind of like that. Anyway, I've been struggling with getting the back end to stick a little bit, especially towards the end of the race. It really slides all over the place. People have been commenting on how tail happy my car is, and there's little you can do in terms of setup compared to a touring car. For example, the camber strap dictates that you don't have infinite adjustment like you do in touring cars. Same with the rear end. You can change the spacers and everything, change the ride height and everything, but there's not a huge amount you can do. Change the droop, etc. If I get it to be more aggressive with more steering, a darty steering, then the rear end is really all over the place. If I try and keep the rear end more planted, I lose front end steering. Everybody's been telling me for months, it's your body shell. The body shell's not taking anything away, but it's not adding anything either. Racing body shells have got aerodynamics and downforce built into their design so that they complement the car. They help, some of them are front end bias, some of them are rear end bias, some of them are neutral, but they all add to the downforce, add to the performance. This and the other shells that just look like a real car don't really do that. So everybody's been saying for yonks, just get a racing body shell. It'll help. Didn't want to. It's a real car. There is one racing body shell. I mean racing, I mean high performance body shell. That's also a real car, and that's the Acura NSX or Honda NSX. But I'm not a big Honda fan. It looks good, but whatever. I want something else. Eventually I had to accept the fact that yes, I'm going to have to get a non-real car body shell. So what I got was this. What do you think of that? Bittydesign Agata, clearly based on a Lamborghini Huracan, I believe. Maybe an Aventador, but either way, it's neither of them. It's a generic racing shell, but it looks really good. I mean, it's not sitting quite right yet because I haven't adjusted the car yet for the shell, and also I'm going to have to raise the ride height of the car front and rear because when the tires wear out, the diameter goes down and the car sits lower to the ground, and to the point where last time I raced it, the chassis was scuffing the ground, so I have to do something about it. But it does look really, really nice. I contacted Shark Fat again to see if he could do another race liveried shell for me because I wanted a race livery. Unfortunately, his lead time at the moment is a few weeks, 6 weeks or so. So I couldn't get one made straight away, and I wanted one straight away. So what I might do is get a second one eventually and get him to paint it up. So I had to make a choice then. Okay, if I'm not going to have a race livery, what am I going to do? So I decided, why not have my new race car match my old race car? This is my Team Lossy XXS, my favourite RC car. This is the one I used to race with. This is the one that I competed in the 2003 and 2004 touring car championships at my old club, and also a little bit 2005, but that's when I gave up. I had to go to uni. Mint condition, never been run outside, and I love this thing. This is a Bittydesign Ascari. This is a Bittydesign Agata. They're both in the same colour, which is Tamiya translucent red, backed with chrome silver, backed with black, and gives you this beautiful metallic deep red colour. So why not have my new race car match my old one? I really like it. I didn't even realise at the time. See the Hobby Wing sticker on the back of the spoiler there? Didn't even realise when I did this. It's been so long ago. I did the same thing. I thought, oh, that'll look really good on the wing. And then today when I went to take some photographs, I noticed I did the same thing. So, both using Bittydesign body shells, both in the same colour, both Trinity powered, X Factor RevTech, Revenge of the Monster Pro, and both using the same Futaba radio gear. Yeah, never ran this with this body shell yet, hence why it's immaculate. I'll be running this tomorrow. This will produce more downforce than the 911. It's supposed to be very neutral, this car, so it won't produce any more rear or more front. It's supposed to be very neutral across the length of it. However, because it does produce more in general, hopefully that allows the rear end to stick more, slide less, have more traction. If it turns out that it still isn't enough. You can get body shells that naturally sway towards the back, so we'll maybe look at that. One thing I love about that, I haven't put the body clips on, so you need to be careful. One thing I love about this body shell is it's a mid-engine supercar, and so the window there at the back is where the Lamborghini engine would be. You can see that it sits right above the fan mount in the motor, so it's literally the engine of this car is where the real one would be, and you can see it through the window. That's so cool. I really like this. I think it looks great. It's not perfect. It unfortunately arrived with the side here sort of pushed in, you know, it sort of pops in and you've got to pop out again. So as a result, there was slight imperfections, like squashed bits there and there and there. I've hidden it under the Trinity Spirit sticker. Yeah, it's slightly damaged, so when they're painting it, you can still see it. Also, the paint seemed to react with the front, although I've washed it, as you do. You wash them before you paint them. The paint reacted to the front. Don't know what it is, but all over the front of this, the paint was bubbling up weird, but it wasn't doing it to the rest of it. Must have had some sort of chemical in it from production. But it was fine, it stuck fine, and it's hidden it. You can't see, not really. I mean, maybe a little bit, but nothing really. And I've made a mistake of cutting that hole too big, and one of the, I don't know which one, but one of the spoiler post holes too big as well. So, not a perfect job, but it looks good. It's going to look cracking going around the track, and I can't wait to try it out. Well, there we are. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this update to my racing season so far, and stay tuned for more. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.